Well, we've got some pretty major news for the housing market that I want to get to, but first, last night, for those of you who were not in attendance, was the 2000th episode of the Tom Woods Show. It was a fantastic show, went on for like 4.5 hours, like almost twice as long as the 1000th episode. When that comes out, I highly recommend everyone go and listen to it. It was hilarious. Lots of great people that you're probably a fan of if you watch this channel. Not only Tom Woods, they had Michael Bolden of the 10th Amendment Center, Jeff Deist of the Mises Institute, Tho Bishop of the Mises Institute, Eric July of the Blaze, Michael Malice, of course. I know I'm forgetting people. I'll feel bad later. Oh, Doc Dixon, somebody I wasn't familiar with ahead of time. Really funny guy. He's like a magician comedian. Had some great bits up there. So everybody should go give that a listen, next week or whenever, or a week and a half from now when Tom puts that episode up. I think he's on episode 1992, he said. So yeah, it'll be probably next, not this coming week, but the week after. So with that housekeeping bit out of the way, I just wanted to plug that because it was, very fun, very entertaining, great for anybody who's into this stuff. Oh, of course, Scott Horton was also there as a surprise guest, and he's always great. Didn't expect to see Scott there. Woods likes to keep a few of the guests top secret until the night of, just to add extra suspense for the audience. But anyway, on to Zillow. You might have seen by the title of this video. I hope my 2 minutes of rambling about a completely different topic didn't get you to click off. Zillow stopped buying homes now, which, considering we were starting to see some softening in the real estate market, you never know if that's going to last. It could just be, hey, I've got this conclusion in my head that I think real estate is overpriced, and so whenever I see any kind of weakness in the market, I think, oh, this must be it. I'm biased in favor of thinking real estate's going to take a tumble because I think it should, and because I really would like to own a house someday. And there's no way I'm going to without a pretty big crash, like any time in my life, the rate at which housing prices are going up. But I do think that what we're seeing is a sign that Zillow is seeing this on the horizon. Zillow had this thing going for a while. I think they started back in 2018. Hey, we'll give you a cash offer for your house, and you sell to Zillow, and then Zillow essentially would take that house that they bought from you, do nothing with it, mark the price up a little, whatever, over what they paid to you, and sit on it until it sells. This is a pretty common business model when we're in a housing bubble. There's a lot of people. I don't know, maybe this isn't the case everywhere, but certainly in growing real estate markets like Florida, you see these "We Buy Ugly Houses" signs, or "We Buy Any House," just anything, any real estate. They'll come in, they'll give you a lowball offer, but they'll give you cash right up front, and then they'll take that and they'll try and sell it at market value, and make some money on the return, because in exchange for you taking less money for it, they're taking the burden of sitting on that house and waiting for someone to come buy it. And so Zillow wanted to start offering the same sort of service on a national scale to anyone, anywhere in the country. They'll just give them money, and then Zillow will sit on your house and try and sell it themselves through the Zillow website. But there was a bit of a problem with this. In order to try and get all these houses, Zillow was way overpaying for them. They were paying above market value, and they ended up having to sell a lot of these houses. There's a lot of them you can find now on Zillow that they have listed at below market value. And, the reason for that is because, it's just the nature of how an asset bubble works. On the way up, it can make sense to you. You can do okay by overpaying at the current market value because obviously the price is going to go up. So even if I'm overpaying now, in a couple months, the price that I paid will be justified, it'll be fair, and in fact, it'll be below what the current market value is. But as soon as a market starts to turn, and it starts, instead of moving up and up and up, it starts to move down, 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 then overpaying before not only, are you do you start out in the red when you're trying to sell that house, but you just keep getting further and further in the red because you paid above market value, and now you're having to sell it, and you're having to cut the price and cut in order to get ahead of the market so that you can actually sell the house. You have to list the house at below what the current market value is because it's moving in that direction anyway. And so I keep seeing people cite examples of this in California, houses that Zillow pays like, I saw one today that Zillow paid like 1.1 million for, and now they have it listed at like 975. I've seen another example where they paid like 650 for a house and they had it listed at 500. That's really bad. And so Zillow seems to be taking a bath on this stuff. And so, this kind of a business model where you just mindlessly buy houses at over asking price so that you can get it, and over market value, and then try and sit on it for a couple months until the price goes up even further above what you paid, and then list it and try and make a little money. That only works in one direction. And so if Zillow's stopping this, they say, oh, well, we're overwhelmed. We have so many properties, there was so much interest. There was more people who wanted to sell us their houses at above market value than we were expecting. And so we're a little overwhelmed with the volume, and so we just needed some time to work through our backlog and get all these dealt with and deal with the paperwork. BS. It's losing the money. It's not a problem for a business that you have too much interest in your business if you're making money. It's only a problem if you're losing money. If Zillow was making money by doing this, they would not be halting the service. They would be hiring new people. And yes, I understand people, it's hard to find people to hire right now, but they would find a way. This is not a winning business model. It's clear. They're losing money. And so this is not a sign that, oh my gosh, it's over, we can all celebrate, the market has crashed. No, this is a sign that things are starting to turn. That's what this, now that Zillow's done it, you want to start to see these We Buy Any House companies, when you start to see them stop putting ads on TV, when you see them starting, not that I want anybody to go out of business, but when you start seeing companies like that going out of business because they're sitting on a bunch of assets that are now depreciating, that they paid too much for. When I stop having to listen to that stupid jingle, followed up with the guy who says, I buy 5 houses a week and I want to buy more. Call me now. When all of that goes away, we're on the road to recovery. Because, the norm is not prices always going up to infinity forever. Okay? That's the problem. That's where the crisis begins. And when prices come crashing down back to historical levels, that is the recovery. It's not a good thing for society, for housing, for the cost of housing, a basic necessity. In Maslow's hierarchy of needs, shelter is it's pretty darn important. It's not healthy for society for the cost of that constantly going up. If anything, you want the cost of something that's essential like housing to be going down. Same thing with food. If the cost of a cable TV subscription goes up, it's not such a big deal. People can live without cable if they can't afford it. But people can't really live without a house. You kind of need a roof over your head. There's been a lot of, vitriol on the internet, and I don't mean that like in a negative way. People upset at companies like Zillow who are buying up all these houses and say, oh my gosh, this is the great reset. Zillow's going to buy up all the houses and make us into landlords. Partially true, partially not. I lean towards it's not that unusual, because when you have an asset bubble, you're going to have people who charge in, buy that asset up, sit on it for a little bit, and try and flip it for more money. They're just speculating. They're speculators. And when you have a bad bubble like this, you want the speculators to lose their shirt, because that means that the market is returning to normal. With a company like BlackRock, who was buying up a bunch of real estate and then trying to rent out houses, I think the Great Reset speculation is a bit more appropriate in that case. But even still, when you have absurdly low interest rates, and let's say you can make 5% rate of return by renting out a house, you're going to start to see Wall Street firms getting into that business. That's just textbook chasing yield. That doesn't necessarily have to do with some grand scheme by Klaus Schwab. Now, it might play right into his scheme. You could say, well, Klaus is helping keep interest rates down to promote this sort of thing. You can make that case. But the problem isn't just that, oh, these guys are mean. BlackRock is mean, and Zillow is mean, and Klaus Schwab is mean. The problem is that there is this giant asset bubble, and if that bubble goes away, if the bubble in all the asset classes, if that goes bust, all of these people lose. And all of these bad things that you're saying that you don't want them to do, they're not going to be able to do that anymore, and it won't make them any money. They would not be good for them. And so if you want all this to end, what needs to happen is the bubble needs to pop. And so when I look at something like Zillow, supposedly pausing their home purchase program, their home speculation flipping program, I see that as, well, these guys who have a lot of money are acting like prices are moving in the wrong direction. Now, keep in mind, a housing crash, even if it started now, it would take years. And we won't know, for probably a few months. We need to see how, prices start to tick down across the country. We are seeing them out west. I don't think really, where I am, certainly prices are not ticking down yet. You're seeing, anecdotally, I'm hearing that there's less interest, that homes are sitting on the market longer, stuff like that. Again, the early stages of a crash. But this Zillow thing, this gives some real teeth to it. It's not just anecdotal now. You've got a massive, publicly traded corporation positioning themselves as if real estate is going down. So with that said, I will see you folks back here tomorrow.